London Films was an MI-6 front company that they used to infiltrate countries and do spying, and at the same time, they make some films over there. They made Jungle Book. They made the previous version of Kim, not the 1984 version. I don't think that's accurate. But they did several movies. Things to Come was one of those movies. People who know how to make moves in the world, they make differences, and then you hear about those differences because that's what consumers do. You hear about stuff. It comes through on the screen, and you are welcome to line up and participate anytime you want to, because being a producer, I didn't need a special invitation to like invite Chengia to my living room and turn some cameras on. No one gave me permission to do that. No one gave me a ticket and said, here, take this to the person and they'll let you in and the thing. No, you have an idea and you're like, that's a good idea. Let's do something about it. So you have an idea and then you do something about it and then you get a result and then you judge that result. It's like, it could have been better. The Canon 7D, I was a brand new camera owner at that point and it was overexposed and that it's like the mid shot, but the close up was all right, but it was a little underexposed. So I could critique my own footage all day. And many times when I'm editing, that's what goes on. A lot of critiquing. But I also recognize when I do something right, like, oh, it was nice that there were flowers in the background, those sort of things that work. All right, so moving out of the ideas of South Africa, apartheid, British Empire, oppression, just for a few minutes, because it'll be back later. I want to talk about technology because Matt was just talking about technology and how it is used to advance the endeavors of freedom in the face of these people who are creating technology to enslave us. If we become Luddites and don't use it at all, we can't be nearly as productive as we might need to be in the time frame that we have, which is compressed because Gordon Moore's law is done. And the quantum level of computing they claim is kind of like we're on that, we're on the brink of it. We're on the bank of it. If it was like a big body of water in that metaphor, I don't know if that drips through or not. But the idea is we should learn and focus more on this because we use a lot of technology. We want to make sure if it has two sides, a dangerous side, a useful side, that we're using the useful side and don't have the dangerous side being wielded against us, which would be the goal of they, them, those who can easily be named over the past 5 years of this podcast. So without further ado, I would like to take you to a little place. Not the University of Reason. I want to take you over across the street to the Academy of Ideas. Now, the Academy of Ideas is run by two brothers. And Colby, I want you to like their product placement, their call to action play, because I think for the first, it's new to them, right? They've been hesitant to self-promote. They might be a little introverted, but they do damn good work. And since I heard them step up and actually do a more realistic call to action, I was like, yeah, good. I don't have any sponsors for this show. I own my own businesses. I can play any call to action I want to on the show if I think it benefits the audience. And I think it does benefit both you and the Academy of Ideas. Also not a sponsor, just people whose work I admire. We play a lot of Truth Stream Media on this podcast. They don't sponsor the show either. I just admire their work and I draw inspiration from their work and I draw wisdom from that well, because if we don't refresh ourselves while we're doing the hard, heavy lifting research and finding the artifacts and finding the quotes, we'll get worn out. And freedom is a super marathon, not a sprint. So we got to pace ourselves. And helping to pace tonight's endeavor, we have two pieces in this block. They fit together, just like Legos. We have the Academy of Ideas, why technology is enslaving and dehumanizing us. And we have the trailer for a 1936 movie made from a book written by H.G. Wells. The book is called The Shape of Things to Come. The film is called Things to Come. And this is essentially a blueprint of how they want to take away technology completely from us, which is going to be referenced in this Academy of Ideas video. That's one of the ways to solve the problem. They want to take away our technology completely, but much like Mustafa Mond in Brave New World, they want to keep it for themselves. You shall not have art or jazz or any of these cool things. They shall have it for themselves. That's the same sort of idea behind Elysium. See, it's not that original when Matt Damon is in a movie like that. That's just them saying, this is what we would like. We'd like to rule over you from so high up you can't shoot us. That's basically it. And then he goes up there and tries to shoot him, which is like why it was a compelling movie. I was like, yeah, go Matt, Goodwill Hunting. How you like them apples? All right, so we're going to Academy of Ideas. And then the second one is called Things to Come. It's a trailer. It's by Media Graveyard. I wouldn't watch their channel beyond this trailer probably, but it's a useful trailer to play in this context. And even though I've never been there, we're going to show you something from 1936. See how it goes. All right, Colby, take it away.
In the mid-1950s, the French philosopher Jacques Ellul wrote a book titled The Technological Society. In it, he proposed that technology, or more broadly what he called technique, was enslaving mankind. In this video, we explore this fascinating yet terrifying thesis. The number of technical slaves, Ellul wrote, is growing rapidly, and the ideal of all governments is to push as fast as possible toward technical enslavement.
We live in interesting, exciting, and anxious times.
Don't be too sure of progress. Well, what's going to stop progress nowadays?
War. There is war and rumor of war.
The unknown aircraft passed over Sea Beach and dropped bombs.
Some of those air chaps up to see me. They've got guts. They can do something still. We'll fight them. We'll fight them. Still got hostages?
That trailer that you just saw was brought to you by a little company called London Films. Let me take you over here to my history blueprint. London Films was an MI-6 front company that they used to infiltrate countries and do spying, and at the same time, they make some films over there. They made Jungle Book. They made the previous version of Kim, not the 1984 version. I don't think that's accurate. But they did several movies. Things to Come was one of those movies. London Films was commandeered. It was headed up by Alexander and Zoltan Korda, the Korda brothers. They also had some influence on a little series called the James Bond series. There's a lot of history here to British security coordination and their overlaps in the cinema world. But that's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is like the whole theme of that H.G. Wells joint is everything that was talked about in Academy of Ideas, only they made the H.G. Wells movie in 1936 after he wrote the book. So when we go to today and we see people like Nicholas Negroponte. It's a familiar name. He has a famous brother, John Negroponte, who was the first director of national intelligence. Let me go over here in the history blueprint. I'll give you. Here's Nicholas Negroponte. He wrote the book Being Digital. He also said physical books will be gone in 5 years. His brother is John Negroponte, who's in the history blueprint quite a bit here. So you might want to keep an eye on these neocon type of people who are also pushing this technology, technocratic agenda side by side, almost as if it's like different pieces in the same machine. So anyway, Being Digital aside, we have the Technological Society. Now, we heard a lot about Jacques Ellul, and I would like to go to the end of his book, and I have a quote for you. It's not like a incriminating quote. I think it's just interesting because we live beyond the year 2000, and he was describing what it would be like in the year 2000. And it reads like this. By the year 2000, voyages to the moon will be commonplace. So will inhabited artificial satellites, like the one that Elon Musk just had to rescue that got stuck. No, that was a space station type thing. All food will be completely synthetic. I'm sure they were working on it real hard. They're still doing that. The world's population will have increased fourfold, but will have been stabilized. Seawater and ordinary rocks will yield all the necessary metals. Disease as well as famine will have been eliminated. There will be universal hygienic inspection and control. That's interesting. That sounds like a lot of tyranny and not freedom there. Is Jacques Ellul American, or he grew up in a country that tyranny was the norm? the problems of energy production will have been completely resolved. No, serious scientists, it must be repeated, are the source of these predictions, which hitherto were found only in philosophic utopias. So none of those predictions came true, and yet all this stuff that he said about technology kind of did. So maybe they had a stronger business plan behind that than these other things. The most remarkable predictions concern the transformation of educational methods and the problem of human reproduction. So it gets into dumbing us down and eugenics. And then if we just go over here, page 433 is this, the method of controlling people's population. So not only like the hygiene part, and the electronic, there's one more quote here before I can go there. Knowledge will be accumulated in electronic banks. That's called the internet these days. H.G. Wells also had an idea for an electronic database, world encyclopedia type thing that turned into like Google, and transmitted directly to the human nervous system by means of by means of coded electronic messages. But you wouldn't know because you've never been there. There will no longer be any need of reading or learning mountains of useless information. Everything will be received and registered according to the needs of the moment. There will be no need of attention or effort. What is needed will pass directly from the machine to the brain without going through consciousness. In the domain of genetics, natural reproduction will be forbidden. This is the eugenics part. And then he talks about that, but I want to get to this part. The method will have to be applied universally. If people of a single country were to apply it intelligently and intensively, they would quickly attain a practical, invincible level of superiority. Here is a future Huxley never dreamed of. Well, that's interesting. Somebody's looking for superiority. I don't know. I'm not looking for that. I don't think anyone here is looking for that. He's looking for that. He's not here anymore. But his ideas are still kind of raining down and precipitating on us. Zbigniew Brzezinski, he's not here anymore. His ideas are still raining down upon us. The world is ruled, in many cases, by people who aren't here anymore. Maybe we should look at things as they are today and make real-time decisions, choices, and judgments that reflect the consequences we would like to see built out in life, and leave tools like Elul behind in the history dustbin. We can know about it, but it's not going on and inflicting on us anymore. That'd be a great place to be. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, his predictions, and it's like, it sounds in there. It's so funny how in their mind, this is like some utopia that they've accomplished. It's like we've created,
which means utopia. Nowhere, by the way. Utopia means nowhere because it doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. It's like things like the world's population will have increased 4 times, but it'll be under control. Well, how are you going to control the population? I mean, you know what I mean? And so it's like,
Henry Kissinger said through food in the National Security Memorandum 201 from 1978, whatever the Alex Jones reference is. We have the documents.
We have documents. Hey, I can look it up right now and find it. But
National Security Memorandum control Africa by food source, I think it was. Population control.
Yeah, so it's just funny how their vision of this perfect problem-free society is bereft with... It would only be able to be accomplished through complete totalitarianism and just complete clampdown and the loss of individual human liberty. I mean, that's just...
Same way you can have peace in the Middle East, Scott. It's the same plan. Yep. Just get rid of the problem makers. Troublemakers out. Totalitarian clampdown. Control their reproduction. Don't let them do the 23andMe because then they won't see that they're from Eastern Europe. Don't let them watch Jimmy Dore rip on all the prime ministers who changed their names, which is like all of them, right? I don't know. Just stuff like that. Little seeds going out there. Sprinkle it around.
For a bunch of guys who... act like supremacists or like they have this superiority complex, it almost seems like they have a huge inferiority complex and are super insecure to the point where they don't trust humans and feel like they need to survey and control our behaviors and essentially not let us have free will just because we might just overthrow them if we find out they're corrupt. And it's like, have you tried not being corrupt?
Well, I mean, there, I wanted it just so it said more than just homo. But Yuval Noah Harari, look, homo. Look at the fingerprint, though. You see that? See that? That's digital. See? This is, yeah, I mean, they have this goal in mind, and this is a big, heavy, thick book. It's not just like, I wish we were controlled by technology. He's like, no, dude, here's the nuts and bolts of how we do it, right? And he's running alongside people like Elon Musk, who went over and kissed the Wailing Wall and, you know, didn't get kissed back. I don't know how that works, if it's like just like a peck on the cheek, or is it like a longer thing? Anyway, he went over there. He also is scared of the AI, but he has AI on the X. It's called the Grok, and he wants to go to Mars. And you pretty much need AI to do that stuff. So I don't know if I believe him when he says he's scared. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's scared and he does it anyway. Maybe he's a daredevil. He's an adrenaline junkie. So he can jump up and down and be like, look at my belly. You know, that might be what the richest guy in the world's up to. Him and Bezos. They're such fine examples for what would you do if you had all the money in the world?
All three of them got the memo to like make themselves into tech bro, like join jujitsu, start dressing like.
Don't forget Zuckerberg. He's been coming up a quick third. Right?
It's like they all got the same PR image makeover at the same time from the same stylist, who's like, here's the 3 things you got to get into. And instead of being, you know, now you're going to be like a cool badass nerd.
You got rockets. It's right? Like big penises going up in the air, man.
And Bill Gates is like, can I hire that stylist, please?
And his wife took all his money and she said, no, get out of here. We don't have time to cover that, but Melinda Gates has a new book out, and she's not talking about gardening. She's talking about her former husband and Jeffrey Epstein, and that she can't trust him. He's no longer the authority with the sweater and the little, we got to put your mask on and lock down. Remember that guy telling us we had to eat artificial meat, with him and Anderson Cooper going through the chemical factory that makes the simulated meat, just like Jacques Ellul told him to. See, he used this as a playbook. He's like, I'm going to take over the world because Jacques not here anymore. Or I don't know. Is that how Bill talks? I've been making fun of a lot of rich people. Maybe I shouldn't do that. That's not a popular thing.
Thought he was the guest on the show for about 10 seconds there. That was a good impression. I called it Microsoft because I named it after my privates.
You got to get this book on the record. Wow.
Yeah, man. He needs a rebrand. He needs a rebrand for sure.
He needs he needs to be born again rebrand, because he already had the rebranding after the 2000 Monopoly case, where he was, a bad monopolist. And then they're like, we need to make you into like the Montgomery Burns sort of John D. Rockefeller kind philanthropist who hands out dimes on street corners and kindly vaccinates African kids with polio.
It'd be a great commercial if you had like Jesus walking down the street and Bill Gates sees him and he knows he needs a rebrand. So he's like, hey, what's up, Jesus? I want to be down with you. And Jesus looks up and he's like, what? He's on iPhone. That's the whole thing right there. Just iPhone 28 coming out soon. And it's just like for the Christian audience at Christmas time. That's a big idea right there. It's a big idea. But we're not going to Orin Claff you right now and tell you how to make an opening pitch for your big idea. But that's what Matt Raymer needed to do to launch Content Safe back in the day. You needed to have an idea, and then you take that idea to market. It's so exciting. It's like your own little casino. You're gambling on your idea. How much would you like to bet on your idea? In the entrepreneur world, it gets very interesting, and they don't teach you about that stuff in school. And that's why I think it's important for people to know about those levers of freedom that they can learn how to pull. Learn how to develop a skill, learn how to develop a talent. This is not an autonomy promotion, but if you need the skills and you haven't done it by yourself by now, you might, want to get those things sooner than later. It might take taking some actions you've never taken before, like actually making it through the primer course instead of assuming you don't need these type of skills. Anyway, complaints and excuses aside, why we don't need to grow right now. That's okay. Not everyone needs to grow right now. I understand. Some people like the quiet desperation, comfort. It's like a functional comfort. That's okay. I was there. But I have a lot more fun when I make goals and smash them every week and make myself do things I didn't think I could do. And that's called growing and adulting up in various levels of situations. Because as a man, especially in America, there's a lot of realms in which we need knowledge and competence. Just because you know everything about one thing doesn't mean you know all these other silos. But the good news is to figure out, the difference between home maintenance and auto maintenance and self-maintenance and relationship maintenance. All these things have what? Problems, challenges, obstacles. If you had a method, if you had a human technique to overcome those things and it didn't involve electricity, I think that would be the healthy way to learn and grow instead of depending on what Jacques Ellul and his ghoulish friends have cooked up for you, because using the technology without knowledge of what's going on, I think can lead to a lot of shortcomings. People are addicted to content that is not helping them reach and overcome their next goal. That's a big problem. What if people in this country were like healthily addicted to achieving their next goal and learning whatever it takes to overcome that next challenge in front of them, blocking them from their next goal? I think that would be like the epitome of mental health, because it goes down the drain when you are blocked from your goals. They know this. This is why they block your goals. So, you can let the New World Order get the better of you. You can say, oh, I didn't know, I didn't have a chance. But you did have a chance. You have many chances to grow in the right direction. So without further ado, let's go to some new topic, because technology is going to be there. It's always going to be there. It's going to be there every week. We're going to have to learn to use it in a more savvy manner. Twice a year, I teach a course called Autonomy. It's a 12-week course. It teaches leadership, entrepreneur skills, executive skills, all these types of things that I saw were taken out of our education system in order to make the schooling or indoctrination system that we've all probably went through. And it has served us well enough to be interchangeable cogs in the machine of the globalists. But if we want a homestead, if we want write our own ticket, work from home job, work from anywhere type of situation, they're not exactly handing those out at the end of college. They give you a piece of paper and they're like, good luck. So reality is dropping us off here, but the demands of reality are up here. So I created Autonomy to help people close that gap for themselves so they can level up their skills to the demands of the situations that life is putting in front of us presently. Life's demands of intellect and understanding precision and complexity are ever increasing. The schooling didn't prepare us for it. The media is not going to do anything but reinforce what schooling prepared us for. And so we're going to have to take a leadership position and take steps off the beaten path to kind of blaze our own trail in life. What makes the Grand Theft World podcast unique, invigorating, exciting, and informative? Most other podcasts out there are either doing straight up interviews or they're just covering the daily news. They're covering current events from the day they happened. And that is effective. It's useful. It's a great starting point. And then sometimes these current events change during the week past the first story. So we like to give it a little time. You have to wait till some of the dust settles on these stories in order to give them accurate coverage. And the other thing that's really missing in the media landscape is covering the articles that are coming out every day. That's great. That's necessary. But who's bringing in contextual history so that you can understand what has been going on for decades and decades to lead up to the machinations and actions that we see unfolding today? So what we do here on the podcast is we cover current events. Many of these things are censored, but we wait about a week. As a forensic historian, I focused mainly through my career on the history of globalism and collectivism and things that they call maybe the New World Order. There's a lot of facts to these sort of circumstances, groups, events, activities, working groups that they've had over time. So for Grand Theft World listeners, we not only break down the current events, most of which that are censored during the week, we provide you with contextual history, we give you the source notes, the references, we do deep dives, and this really empowers you with an understanding of context and history so that you can make more informed decisions in your life. There's also a community, a membership where you guys can actually ask questions and we can get into the show and we can share evidence. And there's a town hall weekly for Grand Theft World for those who listen to it and are interested in covering the stories that we don't get to during a 6-hour show. Listening to it an hour a day, you could easily consume the week's news, but you're going to have substance and meaning and context and understanding. And with that, you can make higher quality decisions in your life. So if you're interested in more quality in your life, go to grandtheftworld.com, click podcast at the top, and we'll see you there. Thank you.
These allegations are false.
This isn't Grand Theft Auto, folks. This isn't a video game.
What are the most surprising things that you discovered once you started pulling on that thread? Who he was connected to, what institutions he was influential over, what events he participated in?
Man. What are you talking about? Come on, man.
No.
You don't have to think about it, dude.
I got this quote because you said you didn't know much about Klaus Schwab. I made it my job to, as soon as this happened, I'm like, okay, this guy's their front man. Let me learn about the official history of the World Economic Forum. I got their 40-year history. I got every book that Klaus Schwab has written or ghostwritten. I went through those books. This is one of the most interesting passages.
Come on, man. Come on.